And we do have a couple admirals on the panel. I want to quote one. Back in 2010, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Mike Mullen, stated that the most significant threat to our national security is our debt. 2010. That is back when it was so much less than what it is now. Back in 2010, it was probably around 15, 16 trillion. It was a lot less. I know it was 18 trillion when I got here in 18. Jamie Dimon and Jerome Powell in the last couple months have said our national debt and the service of it, which is now denominated in trillions, $1 trillion a year, is the same as our defense budget. That finally, the two biggest finance guys in the world said enough is enough, and that the dark clouds of our economy in the future would be the behavior of this place. On March 20th, in this body, I introduced a resolution that passed by unanimous consent that debt is a threat to our national security. Remember, this is the Budget Committee, and we haven't run a balanced budget since the late 90s. I want to distill this into very simple terms. Senator Johnson was talking about all the elements that go into the past, the present, and the future, the modeling that's been nowhere close, and the money, the time value of money that we are starting to spend on something that is amorphous. I'd like each one of your opinions. Which is more of an existential threat? Our debt that's progressed as far as you can see, that's a bird in the hand, that's absolute, to be at least $2 trillion a year. Out 10 years, sooner or later we'll go through like a chapter 11 to where that'll be reduced. What is more of a threat? Climate change or our national debt and the trajectory of it? Start over with Mr. McGinn.
Senator, I know Mike Mullen very well. We're friends, shipmates, work together very, very closely. And I have no doubt in his perspective that, in fact, national debt is a big national security and indeed nation challenge.
But which do you think is more of an existential threat?
It would be a mistake to focus only on that to the exclusion of other threats like, for example, climate change, because climate change
and I agree with you there. I'm not saying that
they're not going to. It's not going to treat us more kindly in terms of our national debt and our needed investments to protect ourselves from increasing severe weather.
So I just like which one do you think is more of an existential threat?
It depends on the time frame. I think longer term, climate change left unattended or properly attended is a greater threat. In the near term, we have to deal with our national debt.
Thank you, Senator, for the question. Here's what I know, is that if climate change continues unabated, that will increase our national debt over time. And when we're talking about adaptation and resilience investments, like the kinds that all members, I think, of the panel have referred to today, there are many studies showing that, spending $1 today gains.
Are you willing to borrow more money to do it?
I think we need to make these investments.
You'd borrow and
resilience
spend
and
it
adaptation.
with the subjectivity associated with that over what we could do within our own discipline to get back to a healthy place where you could actually do something about it.
I think making our bases and installations more resilient, as we've talked about, to future threats, so we're not spending $10 billion like we're going to have to in Guam due to the wave that came through there, or what happened at Tyndall Air Force Base, which cost billions of dollars.
In the context of still borrowing $2 trillion a year, or do you think we ought to work on that first and then maybe pick the priorities?
I think we got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time and deal with
Well, we haven't been doing a very
threats.
good job at that. Next.
Sir, I'm a civil engineer by education and by trade, so I look at it from a infrastructure and what's the cost to protect the infrastructure we have. So it's and bottom line, that's going to take investment. To your question, I don't know what's more of an existential threat, is the debt or climate change. All I know is that if we want to keep our military installations, which we project power from, we're going to have to invest to protect them.
Senator, I said in my opening statement that I acknowledge the challenges to national security imposed by climate change, but the fact that 2024 will be the first time that the interest we pay on our debt is exceeding the Pentagon's budget, that I believe is a greater national security risk.
We know, and you know, sir, that peace begets prosperity, which is required for economic growth to sustain that same peace and stability. So I would say dealing with the debt is an immediate concern.
Thank you. And if I introduced a resolution today that climate was a threat to our national security, it'd barely get 50 votes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I might have an explanation for that, but I'll leave that for another day. Senator Warner.
So much to say in so little time. I agree with Senator Braun that national